Can you legally work in China as an international student? On social media, many people say yes. Others say it's illegal. Some share stories about working off the books. So what's the truth? In this video, I'm going to explain what Chinese law actually allows, what you need if you want to work as a student, and which things are simply not as easy as they may look on the internet. If you're thinking about studying in China and want to clearly understand the rules before making a decision, stay until the end. Hello, international friends. I'm Mike and I'm part of the LivinChina team. If you're thinking about studying in China in 2026, there's something you need to understand from the very beginning. Immigration rules matter, and working as a student is not as simple as it sometimes appears on social media. On this channel, we talk about China with real information, clear numbers, and legal context, so you can make informed decisions instead of relying on rumors. If you're interested in studying in China, understanding how the visa system works, the cost of living, and the real opportunities after graduation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And if you have specific questions, leave them in the comments, because many of our videos actually come from those questions. Now let's get to the important part. What does the law actually say about working with a student visa in China? First, let's talk about the legal side. If you study in China with an X1 student visa, which is the visa for programs longer than 6 months, in theory you cannot work freely like in some other countries. China does not have an automatic system where international students can work 20 hours per week, like in some European countries. To work legally as a student, you need official authorization from both your university and the local immigration authorities. This means it's not enough to simply find a job and start working. The employer must be registered, the university must approve the activity, and the permission must be formally recorded in your residence permit. Without this authorization, any paid work can be considered illegal. Now, this does not mean that working is impossible. It means it is not automatic and not unrestricted. Most international students do not work during their first year because the process requires institutional coordination and because the main focus should be academic. In addition, legal part-time opportunities are not as structured as they are in the United States or Europe. And this is where the difference between what the law says and what people say on social media begins. What about what people say on social media? On social media, it's common to see videos where someone says they work in China while studying and that nothing happens. And here it's important to separate personal experiences from the actual regulations. Yes, there are students who do informal jobs. Yes, some give private classes without formal permission. Yes, some people work without it being officially registered, but that doesn't mean it's legal. And more importantly, it doesn't mean it's recommended. If you work without authorization, you are violating the conditions of your visa, and that can lead to fines, cancellation of your residence permit, or even problems renewing your stay in the country. China has also been tightening labor regulations in recent years. It's not an environment where it's wise to improvise when it comes to immigration matters. That said, some universities do allow internships related to your field of study as long as they are formally approved. And in some cases, especially in master's or doctoral programs, there may be paid academic collaborations. But that's very different from freely working 20 hours per week. The reality is this: studying in China should not be based on the idea that you will finance your entire life through part-time work. China is a strategic option if you already have a planned budget. It is not a destination designed for students who depend entirely on work income while studying. And that's an important difference compared with other countries. So, is it viable to study in China if I need to work to support myself? Here we need to be very honest. If your plan to study in China depends completely on working part-time to cover rent, food, and basic expenses, then China is probably not the best option for you. Not because opportunities don't exist, but because the system is not designed for international students to depend financially on work during their studies. In countries like the United States, Canada, or some European countries, student employment is more structured and regulated. In China, the priority of the student visa is studying. Now, if your budget already covers tuition and living costs, and what you want is eventually to do an internship related to your career, that can be viable if it is done legally and with proper authorization. It's also important to understand that after graduation, you can apply for a work visa if you obtain a contract with a Chinese company and meet the requirements. At that point, we are talking about a completely different scenario. So the right question is not, can I work while studying? The right question is, do I have a solid financial plan before going? China works very well for students who arrive with planning. It is not the ideal destination for someone who depends on immediate income to survive. And understanding that before applying can save you a lot of problems. After everything we've discussed, the conclusion is quite clear. Yes, it is possible to work as a student in China. But it is not automatic, not unrestricted, and not a safe financial strategy if you depend entirely on that income. China is an excellent academic and strategic option if you arrive with a planned budget. It is not the ideal destination if your plan is to fully finance your life through part-time work from day one. And this is not something negative. It's simply about understanding how the system works before making a decision. Many people reject China because of myths. Others arrive with the wrong expectations. What matters most is having clear information. If you are considering studying in China and want to know whether your financial situation and profile actually fit this option, at LivinChina we analyze each case in a personalized way. And now I want to ask you something. If you could choose, would you prefer to study in a country where you can work freely while studying? Or in one where the total cost is more controlled but work opportunities are limited? Leave your answer in the comments, and also tell me which country you're watching us from. See you in the next video.